Today we'll be going to recap Superhuman Battlefield. Before starting the recap, if you haven't subscribed our channel yet, subscribe to it for more interesting recaps like this. Let's begin. Seo Moon Yob is informed by Coach Beck that he'll be receiving all of the pension he deserved in the past 17 years like the other superhumans. The amount of money he owns adds up to $2,586,000. He listens to this with all the focus and then starts counting on his fingers in extreme thought on how much money he now owns with this compensation, and the money by Walker. Haeon questions his money-based murmuring when they both are interrupted by a foreign guy named Joe Pellman. The American guy is rejected about the scouting even before starting by a bored Yob. Joe sweats over it for a little moment before adding a thoughtful message, that the world may seem a bit foreign to the Yob who lost 17 years of his life fighting the underworldly creatures who have now disappeared. He might not be accustomed to the present life, but he'll soon have a home, a family, and some goals to work on, so the day he stops lazing around and wasting life could be the day he can consider him. Joe leaves the bewildered two behind wondering what even was said to them when Haeon mentions how her uncle is lucky that he got an offer even from the Americans. Leaving Joe questions his partner about the words he said, to which she answers, unamused, that JT was literal nonsense. Yob just stares at the retreating guy asking who even was the weird guy. Haeon responds by telling him that the money demon he got offered by is a famous personality in US major leagues and is known to have recruited many good superhumans. He is known to have recruited most of the Korean superhumans when the battlefield started. Manhwa listens to him wondering how a guy known as Money Demon didn't mention money once and only talked about deep abstract stuff, but nevertheless agrees with a few things from the demon recruiter. Haeon also mentions that even though he didn't sound as persistent at the moment, he sure was a lot more persistent when trying to convince her father to join them back in the initial battlefield days. The donation ceremony begins where the main Manhwa is brought under spotlight to give the main speech since he's been the man who donated more than anyone else to the organization. Manhwa just stands there still for a moment, not knowing he was supposed to do this stuff. Nevertheless, the confident Manhwa just walks to the stage in a confident demeanor, not showing the slightest hesitation. Manhwa starts speaking with the fact that if he's the one who donated first, let's start with how much he donated, to which President shouts the amount exceeding 1 billion and doing the donation personally, along with Coach Beck as per his own death request. Manhwa mockingly appreciates the Battlefield Association for informing him that from the crowd, and proceeds to tell that even he didn't have an idea that his savings would count to this much amount of money. Yob further jokes about how he was informed a while ago about receiving 2.5 million from his pension, but it sounds ironical to get excited over this amount when his previous revenue was more than 1 billion. He jokes about asking a refund, earning a good laugh from the crowd. Yob then clears his throat, moving to the serious part of his speech, talking thoughtfully about how it's been 17 years since the money was donated, and even though he just returned, he knows a lot has changed and everyone thinks he saved the world, but that stuff was something he did due to his own liking and not some generosity and selflessness. The thrill and rush he felt when facing the dungeon creatures was something he liked and sometimes still longs, so he doesn't really feel proud and worthy of all that credit, but what he does feel proud of is the fact that the money he donated was used to provide some children a better childhood, and those children must now be adults having a better life than they would have had otherwise. He ends his words with wishes for other children to have a better life as well, and the rest of the ceremony continues. Association President mocks Yob for knowing how to big talk, to which he responds of this being a genuine gratitude, due to having a troubled childhood himself. He gets mocked back for having problems that weren't like that of ordinary childhood troubles, but Yob just tells him to cut the chase. He complies and asks him the reason for destroying their own national team while being a senior to them, to which Yob blames him for nurturing them the worst way possible. Mr. President face palms himself, showing resentment over the idea of the charity game, while Yob just smirks at this. The old man gets infuriated and blames Yob for the superhumans being treated as monsters, to which he calmly retaliates. In denial of this being his fault, Yob tells him that he only beat up those assembly guys due to them acting first. Mr. Oldie just sighs and rubs his forehead, requesting him to be the skills coach for the team, but Yob cuts his offer off with a grin, telling him he already has an aim he wants to pursue at the moment. In the car ride, Yob once again talks about the money he'd need for investment, and upon question he grins that he's gonna open a club to help the miserable Korean assembly people to improve their economy. Jiho talks about not knowing of Yob having any patriotism and talks about the second division team of KB League being worth billions, to which a careless Yob grins that he could do that too to earn some money. Beck realizes that it's all the matter of earning money and no patriotism. The two reach their destination but receive an uninvited presence of Shuran outside. Jiho nervously questions about her presence while Yob thinks about not being able to read her anymore and observes her skills, to see almost all of them at their maximum capacity. He realizes that she's become much stronger and unreadable now, yet he confidently questions if she is there to kill him, to which she calmly says she just came here to personally ensure he's back and simply leaves, leaving the two confused behind. She walks away remembering her weak younger self being bullied by Yob during training but simultaneously being helped and saved by a mocking Yob about her skills, and smiles an admiring smile knowing Yob is really back. Yob receives his money and starts surfing for clubs while Jaha questions how he was serious about this stuff. Jiho then explains the concept of KB7 League being minority league with teams who fight in the league to try and get into KB1 and KB2 League by winning, but naturally all talented and potential people are part of a KB1 or a KB2 League, so Yob decides to buy a KB2 team. Yob calls the association president, who gives a very overly pleasant and loud reaction in support of the idea of Yob, and says that he'll fully support this one decision in rejection of the offer to being a skills coach. He even suggests the teams and battlefield clubs available for him to look through to buy. Yob then disguises himself by covering his eyes and face and geese to a KB2 League match, where he analyzes the skills of players of Hanjong Industries one by one. His aim to find at least one or two people he can consider enough to train to be better, and he does find that in a few people from that team, even though they brutally lost the match they were currently in. He chooses to buy the team he himself calls worst and weak, since he finds the challenge of trying to raise the worst team to a good one as an interesting thing to do in his life. He properly signs an agreement with the former owner, and the news floats about him buying the industry while people comment about the Hanjong Industries being a lost cause, and how even Seo Moon Yob will have a hard time with them. Yob, on the other hand, meets the association president, where the old guy tries to casually make Yob realize that buying a club is not like buying snacks, but nobody can move Yob away from his thought process, who says that he's just gonna let the present players do what they do, and try and recruit new players for his club. So, the conversation turns into a useless one real soon. That's when the old man notices the bike Yob is on, asking when did he get that, to which he smiles, telling he bought it with his remaining money, so he won't have to ask Jiho for rides. Yob then zooms away on his bike through a busy expressway full of heavy traffic. People complain about the idiocy of someone riding so fast on a bike on an expressway, and that too without a helmet, when they start noticing that it's their hero Seo Moon Yob, so every annoyed or questioning face turns into a pleased and satisfied one, as everything is fair and justified if Yob does it. He reaches the old and rusty Hanjong Industries, where he meets the coach of the 14 people in the industry, Dongjun, who meets Yob nervously but receives a very ironically comfortable and pleasant attitude from Yob. Yob asks his now Liel Dongjun to tour him around the place, which he complies to. They reach the last training room at the end that has only 11 modules while the players are 14, when Dongjun emotionally tells him that it's because the modules are expensive. Yob does not pay much attention to the senti state of a superhuman with healing powers, since he thinks that Dongjun could easily earn money by working at a hospital. But he just asks him to arrange a meeting with all of the members, which is questioned by June to being so sudden, but nothing phases Yob off course. Yob arranges his first meet with Lee Naein, a woman with the ability to jump up to 20 meters but little strength capacity. She nervously introduces herself, to which Yob gets even more affirmative that she in fact is like a flea. He notices her calluses having marks that look like she has been training on a bow, which shocks Naein about him figuring it out randomly. He tells her she should not worry much about her strengths not increasing anymore, since he'll train her to be far better than she's at the moment. He tells her he'll train her enough to be on the starting lineup, which shocks Naein. He tells her that her concept will be the Saint Tail, which confuses the hell out of Naein, until Yob announces that she'll work on being the thief who steal her opponent's sanity from now on. Yob tells Naein that she can't improve no matter how she tries, to which a troubled Naein says that she might actually be helpless, and Yob exclaims she's fired. This confuses Naeon, who's about to cry at the news, but Yob just exclaims of course she's not fired, as he just told her he's gonna make her a core player. He mocks her for having a talent in archery, which of course she doesn't, and makes her about to bawl her eyes out at the embarrassment, but Yob is timely done with his amusement and gets to the serious talk. He tells her that he knows she has a talent in speed, and if she can combine her speed and jumping abilities, she can be really fast in moving around the battlefield. On top of it, they can use her nuisance at archery as a bait for the enemy to distract them and try and get rid of her, only to have her get away with all the training in running and jumping. He tells her that her main aim would be to cause chaos on the battlefield for the enemy but not get caught by them. She figures she's being told to be a controller, which intrigues her, and Yob agrees, telling her that she can even get into the national team if she works well on what he's telling her to work on. She innocently questions if this is possible, to which he agrees. This gets her excited enough to jump around, again confirming for Yob that she is the human form of a flea. He advises her to solely focus on running and not on anything else and listen to him in order to succeed as a player. He then asks for Ji-hoon, the support of their team with a talent of protection via his aura. A nervous skinny guy enters the field of vision of Yob, who gets to the point right away, telling him he won't be a support anymore, only for Ji-hoon to nervously say that he's a support, to which Ji-hoon says no he isn't, to which he again replies, but he has been a support. This starts to infuriate Yob, who tells the hard-headed guy that he is saying he won't be a support anymore and will work as a melee dealer from now on. This shocks the skinny guy, to which Yob tells him that he's got a talent in swordsmanship. Ji-hoon questions if Yob has seen him in his matches, to which Yob fights the urge to say that he fell asleep in the boring one-sided match he saw. Instead, he tells that he took the team, so he knows why he's saying what he's saying, but stupid Ji-hoon knows how to get on anybody's nerves. So, he keeps annoying Yob by repeating that support is a great position and his skills are not worthy of any other position. This makes Yob make him stop talking, telling him he knows better and how he hates supports cause 9 out of 10 supports are always a liability and do nothing in the background, and there are only few supports who carry another skill along to be able to play a stronger role in a battle. A dramatic speech about supports by Yob makes Ji-hoon listen and eventually ask if he'll be a support, with the art of using the sword, which, for very obvious reasons, make Yob want to kill the guy. So he tells him that he'll be a dealer with support powers or he'll be fired otherwise, because being scared on leading the battlefield won't help him move any forward in life. While leaving, Yob tells Dongjun to arrange a swordsmanship coach for Ji-hoon and that Naeun will train on her running, alongside questioning if he should change the name of the club. He tells him to get the endurance of all players on team boosted by training. The next day, Ji-ho finds Yob lost in thoughts and questions if it's about recruitment of new members, which pumps Yob to get up and recruit new players. Ji-ho just questions his impulses and ideas. Meanwhile, Yob calls Dongjun to prepare for a 3-day recruitment drive for new players, to which Dongjun cries about their lack of budget. An annoyed Yob gets to know that the training modules aren't as expensive and his club is just extremely power, so agrees to sponsor it. This excites Dongjun, but he throws in the next obstacle, that how is he gonna recruit good players in like 3 days, since a 2nd division team would already have lesser applicants for recruitment, so 3 days would be too short to collect potential and sufficient players. Yob listens to it and just tells him to do as he says, while he's already planned on how he's going to announce and publicize for the recruitment. He steps out of Ji-ho's house, where reporters are always crowded trying to talk to Yob and have his interest in media. This time Yob himself comes out to talk to them, with their first question being the desperation of wanting Yob as a player on the battlefield. But he ignores it all and tells them he'll only answer the questions if his request is written down and published first. An excited reporter asks about it. Yob announces that he's publicly recruiting players for Hanjong Industries for 3 days and that they're looking for applicants. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for next part.